You won't believe what I found. I was just curious, stepping into an old abandoned house that had been forgotten by time, when something caught my eye. An ancient, untouched bed. It had been there for years, frozen in place. And yet, when my hand made contact, everything changed. The warmth that radiated from it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. No, this wasn't a normal house. This wasn't a normal place. What I discovered next will chill you to the bone. The locals have always talked about this house, but nobody dares to go near it. They call it the haunted house. For years, it has stood as a dark legend, surrounded by rumors and whispers. If you ask anyone in town, they'll tell you to stay away. They'll warn you that once you step inside, something starts to watch you. Something that doesn't let go. But curiosity got the best of me, and I thought I'd test the legend for myself. When I first stepped inside, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. I felt it the moment my foot crossed the threshold. The atmosphere in here, it was heavy. The dust was thick, clinging to the air as if the house hadn't been disturbed in decades. The smell of decay was almost suffocating, mixing with the scent of old wood and mildew. Every step I took felt like it was echoing into eternity. And then I saw it. The bed. It stood there, undisturbed, in the center of the room. It was old, covered in tattered sheets and blankets. But what was truly strange was that it didn't look like it had been touched in years. No dust, no mold, no evidence that time had been able to claim it. But the strangest part? It felt like someone had just gotten up from it. Like someone had been lying there waiting for something. But who? And why had they left? When my finger brushed the fabric of the bed, I felt a chill run through me. But then, something even stranger happened. The bed wasn't cold like I expected. It was warm. Warm in a way that didn't make sense. Almost like someone had just gotten up from it moments ago. I couldn't explain it. Could the house be haunted, or was there something darker at play? I felt a shiver crawl up my spine as I stood there, trying to make sense of it. But one thing was certain. This house held secrets. Secrets that were begging to be uncovered. As I made my way deeper into the house, I could feel the weight of history pressing down on me. The old floorboards groaned beneath my feet, each step echoing through the silence. The air felt thick, like it was holding on to something dark. The room I found myself in was the one with the bed. And now that I was inside, the eerie feeling was stronger than ever. It was almost as if the house was alive, watching me, waiting for me to make my next move. The legend of this house had been passed down for generations. They say a family once lived here, many years ago. A father, a mother, and their child. They were a quiet family, kept to themselves, living in isolation. But one night, something changed. One night, they simply vanished. No one saw them leave. No one knew what happened to them. The police were called, but they couldn't solve the mystery. No clues, no evidence, just an empty house. The house stood abandoned for years after that, with no one brave enough to step inside. But there were always whispers, rumors about the family that had lived here. Some said they left in a hurry, running from something. Others said they never left at all. Some believed they were taken, vanished without a trace. But no one knew for sure. And then there was the bed. People said the bed had a strange power to it, that it held something dark and sinister, that no one should ever touch it, but no one had dared, until now. I approached the bed, my heart racing. As my hand hovered above the sheets, I felt a sense of foreboding, but I couldn't stop myself. Something was drawing me in, urging me to touch it. When my hand finally made contact, it sent a shock through me. The coldness was intense at first, unbearable, like ice. But then, something shifted. The cold faded, and warmth replaced it. A strange, unnatural warmth. It didn't make sense. Was this just the house playing tricks on me? Or was there something more? As I stepped back, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. That something was watching me. Something that had been waiting for years, maybe even decades, for someone like me to come along and unlock its secrets. I took a step back from the bed, my mind racing. What had just happened? Why had the bed warmed up like that? Was I imagining it? But the strange occurrences didn't stop there. The room, it seemed to shift. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. The air became thicker, heavier. I turned to look around, but all I saw was the same old decaying room. Yet, it felt different now, alive, like something was watching me from the corners, from the shadows. I began to hear noises. At first they were faint, barely noticeable. The floor creaked under my weight, but it wasn't the sound of my own movements. It was something else. Something behind me, in the next room. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Just the empty silence of the house. And then it happened again. A soft whisper. So quiet, it almost felt like it was inside my head. "Don't stay." The words were clear, chilling. I froze. My body went stiff, my heart pounding. But when I turned to look, there was no one there. The camera in my hand seemed to capture something else. Flashes of shadow darting across the room. They were quick, almost too fast to catch, but I saw them. There was something here, something that didn't want me here. I couldn't stop myself. I had to explore more. My curiosity was overpowering my fear, but the tension in the air was undeniable. Something was happening, something strange and dark. As I walked around the room, the warmth of the bed seemed to grow stronger. It was almost as if the bed itself was alive, reacting to my presence. I could feel the heat rising, not from the bed, but from the entire room. It was unnerving. I couldn't explain it, but it was like the room was alive, breathing, reacting to my every move. And then, I heard it again, the soft whisper. Only this time, it was louder, more insistent. "Leave, now." I froze in place. My mind was racing. What was happening? What was this voice? And why was I still here? I grabbed my camera and replayed the footage. What I saw made my blood run cold. In the reflection of the bed, I saw a figure. It was faint at first, barely noticeable, but there, a shadowy form, half hidden. It looked like a person, but not quite. The figure didn't move, just stood there, staring back at me. I turned around, expecting to see someone standing behind me, but there was nothing, just the empty room. The figure was gone. I rewound the footage and played it again. The figure was still there, clear as day, but when I looked around, no one was in the room with me. The air around me grew colder, and I could feel something pressing in on me. Something was here, watching me. I felt its presence closing in, like it was moving toward me. Suddenly, the bed creaked. I turned to see the blanket shift, just slightly, as though something had been lying there. The warmth was gone now, replaced by a biting cold that seeped into my bones. I needed to leave. I had to get out. I turned to make my exit, but before I could take a step, I heard the whisper again. This time, it wasn't a voice. It was a command, a demand. "Stay." I turned, heart racing, to see the bed shifting on its own, the blanket rising and falling, as if something invisible was lying there. The shadows around me grew deeper, swirling as though alive. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, the very house itself groaning in protest. I was no longer alone. Something was here with me, something that had been waiting for years. It was the bed. It was the house. The family that had vanished. They hadn't left. They had been absorbed into the very fabric of this place. And now, I had to face it. I ran. I didn't look back. My heart pounded as I burst through the front door, the darkness of the house closing in behind me. When I made it outside, I took a breath of fresh air. I was free. But something lingered. The image of the figure in the reflection. The voice. The bed. Something had followed me out. As I looked back at the house one last time, I saw it. In the upstairs window, a figure standing there, watching me, waiting. And then the lights went out.